name is Dr. Luis Arriaza, and I'm incredibly excited at this moment. I'm standing here in our home with my beautiful wife, Evelia.
Hello, everyone. How are you today?
And today what we're going to talk about is, as I've said before, okay, there's a science, there's a philosophy, and there's an art to becoming a professional network marketer. And one of the most important aspects, one of the most important elements in becoming a professional network marketer is knowing and understanding the power of edification. What is edification? Edification comes from a Latin word that says edifice, and edifice in Spanish or Latino is building. It's the ability to build somebody up in front of another person. It's the ability to build somebody, their character, their integrity, their vision, their belief in front of somebody else. If you become a professional edifier, network marketing will become your friend. If you don't edify, then all we're doing is just selling stuff, and we don't want to sell to people. Where we are right now, we're in a time of relationships and connection. So if you master this, I guarantee you, your business is going to take off. So, sweetheart, why don't we talk about the first part of the power of edification?
Yes, the power of edification is so important, like you said, and it's the one thing that's going to distinguish us from being salespeople and from being professionals in this industry. When you invite a guest, when you bring someone to meet your upline, when you bring them to a presentation, when you bring them to a one-on-one, if you did not edify, you might as well just go home, because you're going to fail. And the person that you brought them to that could be the most wonderful, successful person in longevity is going to just become a glorified salesperson to them if you don't follow these steps, okay?
Yes.
So number one, in connection, right, it's very important that we know how to connect with the person that's in front of us. And so what we use as one of the points of how to edify properly is the 4 fish, right?
Yes.
It's the 4 personalities, and we give them names of fish. And so the first one is the dolphin.
The dolphin.
Now, the dolphin is a person who always wants to have fun. Okay, the dolphin is the one who's going to be interested in earning the tax vacations.
Yes.
The dolphin is the one that's going to be interested in conventions. The dolphin is going to be interested in all the side things that we do that together as a team that are fun. Because if you talk to the dolphin all about the comp plan, you're going to lose a dolphin.
You will.
If you don't focus on the fact that how much fun it is building this business. I remember that you're not like scripted in this, okay? It's just about being intentional, and it's about how you could best connect with the person that's in front of you and be the most genuine to get across longevity to them. Okay, the second personality is the shark, okay?
Yes.
The shark is a person who is the get it done type, who is results driven, who wants to know who's the top producer, who only wants to talk to the top producer, who wants to have it all planned out for them, and they're the type that march to the beat of their own drum and like to get things done, okay? Usually they're money driven, which is not a bad thing, okay? Usually when people say you're money driven, it's like
they think it's a negative thing.
It's a negative thing. It's not. It's just the mode of operation of someone and
is.
their personality tendency, okay? So when you're talking to a shark, you're going to want to emphasize systems, right? Because if there is one thing that I could get across to you, especially in these trainings, if there is one thing that will trump fear, it's systems. That's why we're so big with systems, because systems enables you to belittle that fear of yours because you know what to do.
Yes.
So with the shark, you want to highlight the systems. You want to highlight the money. Remember, we never entice people. We never show checks. We don't do those things. But saying where we, like, for example, our story that most of you know, where we were 3 years ago and where we are now with longevity and the power of this compensation plan.
Absolutely.
Okay. Then you have the sea urchin. The sea urchin is the analytical type, which is like a lot of my attorney and CPA friends.
Thank God.
Yes.
You want them to be sea urchins.
We need them, right? We go, gosh, we need those people that love to be, they're very organized. They have 1,000 questions. They're probably going to look at all the ingredients in BTT. They're going to look at all the multiple ways that we get paid. They're going to have a ton of questions for you. So be prepared for those questions. Because if you sit in front of someone who's a sea urchin, who's analytical, and you are not educated on the topics, then they're not going to be interested in doing business with you, because you're going to lose that point of connection. And the 4th personality is the whale. And we refer to the whale as the Mother Teresa type, okay? The person who wants to change the world, who is not going to do anything that does not feel good to her, where she is purpose filled and purpose driven. For example, to someone who is like, a whale, you're going to talk about the greater purpose. Like for myself, with More Than High Heels, and I have a heart for women. So that's how I lead, because that's important to me, right? About the Be the Change Foundation, because someone who is a whale is going to want to be part of something bigger, to contribute to the world, to make a difference in their home, in their community, in their country, in the world. And so those 4 personality types, right? You have the shark, the dolphin, the whale, and the sea urchin. All of us are, we usually have one dominant trait, but we're all kind of a little bit of all of them. And so you want to be aware of what the dominant trait is for the person that you're speaking, or what combination are dominant traits, so that you can better share longevity with them.
Spectacular. And everyone's going to be a combination. So whatever the prospect is, if the prospect is a shark whale, then you're going to want to edify the authority as a shark whale also, because what you want to do is you want to show commonality. If the prospect is a dolphin and your authority is a shark, they're not going to connect.
Right.
Actually, the dolphin's going to be turned off. So you want to show commonality. So that was awesome. The next key component is the triangle of edification. So I want you to visualize this. Visualize a perfect triangle, right? And on top is prospect. To the right is you, the representative. And to the other corner is the authority, the expert, the senior vice chair, the vice chair, the leader, the person that's speaking. So you have your prospect, you have yourself, and then you have the authority. Between the prospect and you, there has to be trust. So you have to have some type of relationship. If you are working in the cold market, it's very challenging to pick up a cold market and drop them into a presentation, because there's no law of buy-in. There's no relationship. They don't know each other. You're better off inviting them for a $3 to $4 cup of coffee, investing that hour in connecting with them, then you take them to the presentation, because you're going to build that trust. Now, between the representative and the authority, there's massive edification. You edify, you edify, you edify. When you're tired, you edify. When you're bored, you edify. When you don't know what else to talk about, just edify some more. Because between the prospect and authority, if there's edification, then between the prospect and the authority, there's going to be respect. As a speaker, as a leader in network marketing, you want to take the stage, you want to get in front of a home presentation, you want to show up to a one-on-one, and there has to be a little bit of respect from the prospect to the authority, because that's going to give you the opportunity, and it's also going to give you the time to really open them up. If this triangle is not done, the prospect most likely will show up with a lot of ego, and that will close the doors to any type of change of thoughts, any new concepts, any new opportunities, and that's where all the objections come. So I want you to know, if you master this triangle, things are going to work out incredibly easier for you. Now, what are the 4 questions that we ask?
The 4 questions that you're not going to get, okay?
Right.
This is the key, that everyone is thinking these 4 questions at one point or another when they're sitting with you, where they're sitting at a presentation, but they're not going to ask you these questions. So it is important that if Louis is my guest and we're at a presentation, I'm going to touch on these 4 questions as the presentation is going on, in a very respectful way, to not disrupt the speaker. And this also is part of presenting correctly. When there is a reason why we'll have 50 guests and 55 applications.
I love that.
Because there's a proper way to address and present, okay?
Yes.
So the 4 questions, the number 1 is this for me? Okay, your prospect is going to be thinking, is this really for me, right? They're also going to ask you, is this real, right? They're going to ask you, can I do this? No, sorry, they're not going to ask you, they're going to think. They're going to think, will you help me?
Right.
Okay, so these are the 4 questions. Is this for me? Is this real? Can I do this? And will you help me? Okay, so if I'm at a presentation and there's this amazing presenter, right? It's one of our Wednesday night presentations, and I bring my guest, and my guest is sitting next to me, and we have someone like, Carmen or Jamie or Maria up to presenting, and my guest is looking at them, and she's thinking in her head, really, is this really for me? Can I really do this? So depending on where she is in her life, or he, right, because he's right next to me, where he is in his life, right, like I'm going to use Louis. He's a chiropractor. He's a doctor of chiropractic who's been very successful on his own right, and so here I bring him to share longevity with him. He's thinking, is this for me? Like, really, do I really want to be presenting and doing all this? And so during the presentation, I'm going to be like, you totally have the ability to speak this way.
I do.
When your patients, when you speak to your patients every day, when
true.
you give your care classes, and I'm going to say, do you know that Jimmy up there, he used to be a professional too. He had a business, and while he is a professional, right? But now they're marketing. And he now did this because he was looking for more time freedom with his family. Because I know that Dr. Lewis, money is not, he likes to make money, but his main motivation is to have more time because his practices are taking all his time. Is this for real? So I'm going to start talking about how the longevity of longevity, right? How many years we've been, Dr. Wallach, just some points to make sure that I'm addressing that thought that he's having. Is this really real? Does this really work? Can I do this? Okay. So I'm going to tell Dr. Lewis how he has all the time to do this, how in between his practice hours, how whether he wants to do the spare time, part-time or full-time, how this is for him and how he can do it. And we don't have time for me to talk to you through every single conversation that I would have, okay? But just imagine what you would say to someone depending on what's important to them at this point in their life, and then will you help me? So I'm gonna be, during the presentation, I'm gonna be nudging him. How awesome would it be for us to do this together? I'm so excited. I'm gonna help you build your dreams. I'm gonna, or whatever it is, I'm gonna help you get more time freedom, because these 4 questions are going to be running through his head when someone is presenting or at a one-on-one, or even when if it's just him and I, he's going to have these questions. So I'm going to make sure to address them.
Now, I want you to remember that these are 4 thoughts that everyone's going to have. Every single prospect is thinking these 4 thoughts. Is this for me? Is this real? Can I do this? And most importantly, will he help me? They're never going to ask you these questions, but I want you to believe me, they're going to think this. And if in the process of invitation, of edification, of meeting conduct and presentation, if you can answer these 4 questions, most likely they will be moved to sign up with you. I guarantee you that, okay? And the last component, and we can do this together, the last component are the 4 emotions. They're all 4 components, the 4 personalities, the triangle of success, the 4 questions, and the 4 emotions. They're all very, very important. They're all critical. But there's something about the 4 emotions. If you master how to use these 4 emotions, Tony Robbins says that success is 80% psychology and 20% activity. 80% psychology. Who doesn't want to be healthier? Who wouldn't want to spend more time with their family? Who wouldn't want to earn a little bit more money? Everybody does, but they're stuck in their psychology. So if you can maneuver your way and introduce these 4 emotions, it's going to make it more fun. It's going to make it more productive. You're going to get a lot more people to get involved. Your life will become a little bit easier. It'll be a little more lucrative, and you will have helped so many people. So the first emotion, okay, is the fear of loss. You must introduce a little fear of loss. People will do more to avoid pain than to gain pleasure. Remember that. We will do more to avoid harm than to gain something good. So if you introduce a little fear of loss, let me give you an example. Somebody has been someone has had a condition for 4, 5, 6 years. And it's a progressive condition, and it's a debilitating condition, and it's a degenerative condition. So you want to have this conversation of, you know what, this is where you are 5 years into your condition. Where do you think you're going to be 10 years at this pace? Where do you think you're going to be 15 years? Where do you think you're going to be 20 years? You see their eyes get wider. You see them start maybe stammering and stuttering a little bit because they don't really want to think about that. No one wants to think about fear. No one wants to introduce challenges into their life. That's called fear of loss. You want them to know the truth. You want them to know that these are real possibilities. Right after that, you introduce hope for the future. That's where testimonies come into play. That every presentation, whether it's a home presentation or a hotel presentation, you want to have testimonies. And we have some pretty on-fire testimonies.
We have
would you say?
on-fire testimonies, some really amazing testimonies. And you want the testimonies also to speak to all the parts.
Yes.
Also, so like when we have testimonies that come up to our presentations, we don't just randomly say, okay, you give your
No,
testimony
no,
today. Like
no.
we've heard their testimony,
Yes.
and then we've kind of, okay, maybe leave out that part.
Right.
Or, you know, it's not good that you cry for 10 minutes
Right.
because then we're going to lose everyone. So
Right.
testimonies are really why are at the end of the day why people sign up. Like, you know what I mean?
That's
Like,
right.
yeah,
That's
like,
right.
It's what obviously gives you credibility, and when people say, you know, everyone knows someone like that, and so testimonies are key.
So we have fear of loss, hope for the future. You want to have sense of urgency. Tomorrow is a word for people that live a modest, mediocre life. People that are doing something significant live in today. They live in the now. You want to add urgency. We don't have time to make a decision tomorrow. We've already put off many, many decisions tomorrow, and tomorrow never comes for most people. So we have fear of loss, hope for the future, sense of urgency, and the last one, and I love this one, it's called the power of anticipation. Do you remember several years ago, we were in New York City, Madison Square Garden, and we saw Janet Jackson?
Yes, and
Okay.
we had to wait almost 45 minutes to see her.
We said, you know, we were 3 rows, the tickets were very expensive. We were 3 rows from the front, right? And first there was another group that kind of warmed up the crowd, then all the lights were turned off. And then one huge spotlight came into the middle of the stage. Then smoke came out of everyone. Then you see Janet come up from the bottom. You remember this?
Yes.
Janet comes
With
up from
all
the
of her
bottom.
abs.
Man, she was so ripped. You can see the vascularity on her abdomen. Who has veins on your abdomens? Janet Jackson does, right? But there was so much anticipation. She did one move, the crowd went berserk. That is how you want to edify. You want to edify that when that leader walks into that room, people are like, oh my goodness, she's here. Can I meet her? Can I touch her? You may be laughing right now, or you may be thinking, gosh, Dr. Lewis is being a little over the top. This is the system. Follow the system, and your business will grow. Yes or no?
And if you feel a little weird about that, like, oh, like that's almost like, you know, like self-consuming, right? Then you have it all wrong. Because the reason that we have this confidence is because we know the power that longevity has that could change someone's life.
Exactly.
Because we are passionate and sold out for Dr. Joe Wallach's work. So when you see the testimonies, when you see people's health restored, when you see people's finances restored, when you see people restore themselves, the hope in themselves that they had lost, then you're going to walk into a room knowing, and that confidence is going to exude on you, and so this is all going to make sense.
Absolutely. You know, if I'm gone for a couple days and my wife and my son, they're at the airport, it's just natural. You're excited to see the people that you love. You're passionate. Passion is born out of sincerity. And when you really connect with the bigness, like Evelia just said, with the bigness of what we're doing, all this is just it's going to come second nature to you. So we want to thank you guys for your time. It's been spectacular for us. We love doing this. God has been incredibly good to us, and I know God is going to bless you also. So use these principles, use these tools, and we hope and pray that you truly, truly grow a gigantic organization.
God bless you.